Hey everyone. Um, what we're going to do today is we're going to make a standard hair jig, but we're going to make it better. Um, I got somebody that asked me um, what you could do to make a bucktail even more effective. And there are some things that we can do uh, that'll help the action and make it more attractive. So we're going to get started. In the vise, we have a 1/8 ounce ball head jig. Um, you can see I cut a little groove here, as I like to do with these lead collars, because it gives a place for the thread to catch, that it doesn't slide all the way down. And this is actually a small jig. This has a size 2 Matsuo sickle hook in it. Um, very finesse, very finesse style jig this will be. So we're gonna get started. The jig color is green pumpkin. I know my camera ain't that great, so it's hard to see, but it's green pumpkin, and we're going to use an olive flat wax nylon thread 210 denier, which I like to use on all my bass jigs. Now, once we get just a small thread base there, we'll get to it. Now, first thing we're going to do is, I like this sculpin olive bucktail. After I cut some off already, but I never. You just got to watch the underfur in it. There's real short pieces, so I like to cut it and then stroke it to get all the underfur out of it. So now we're gonna measure it up, and again, you want this a 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch beyond the hook point. Uh, if you want a longer tail, you could do that. We're going to stick with this right now, about 1/2 inch or so beyond the hook bend. You can go longer if you're going to use plain just straight bucktail, but we're actually going to make this a little different. So, and you'll see why I want to keep this short. Now I make a couple loose wraps, and it lets me work the hair around. And you can see there are some short pieces in here. So now we got that part tied in. I'm going to go with another, measure it off of what we have tied in, and trim. Some people like to, some guys like to just line it up, tie it in, and then take a razor blade and trim it up. I much prefer to trim it to length and then tie it in. Uh, and the reason is once it's done, it's done. I don't have to play around. And the other part of it is, sometimes I'm not real uh, good with my fingers. So what happens is I tried to get it real close. I end up nipping the thread with the razor, and I also end up nicking the paint. I mean, it isn't bad, but I like to have it as professional looking as I can. Now we got that tied in. Looks pretty full on each side. We do have some short ones here that I gotta pull out, but and you see, you will get some loose ones and some small ones. Okay, now what we're going to do to this to make it a better bucktail jig, and that's fine just the way it is. Um, there's a lot of things you can do to add. You can add flash to this. You could leave it like it is, use it by itself, or even put a trailer on it. But what we're going to do to this is we're going to enhance this even further with the use of hackle feathers. These are a sculpin olive. You can use your favorite color. But what I like to do is pick one out that's fairly wide. And you can see it's going to match the color pretty well. But it's just going to be a little bit darker hued. It's going to give it some contrast. And we're going to want that to come down just at the very end of this hair. Maybe extend about a quarter of an inch or so beyond the hair, but not much more. So I'm going to line that up, measure, and what you do is you stroke these barbels back. And when you stroke the barbels back, you can it'll open up a place for you to tie. After you get cut it, make sure. Good. And I'm going to strip some of the barbels off here, so it leaves the bare stem there that I could tie into. And that's where my thread's going to wrap around. But before I tie it in, I'm going to get my other feather and I'm going to line it up so the both of them are the same length. That way you get a uniform jig. Now we got that cut. Again, I'm going to strip the barbels off to give me a clean stem to tie into the collar. And real quick here, I'll measure it up one more time to make sure that that's pretty good. So now I'm going to take my first one. I'm going to tie it into the side here. And I just want to make 2 loose wraps. And the thing with this is you're going to want these feathers to sit flat. And when you first tie them in, which I'm having trouble with right here, is that first loose wrap, they're going to want to turn on you. There, I got one in. Now we're going to tie the other in. And when you tie your second one in, just line it up with the first one you tied in from the other side. It gets a little tricky on these smaller collars because when you tie the stem of the feather in, it wants to go sideways on you, and it doesn't. it'll turn. See, it just did it to me there again. I apologize. Wait, for some reason this one is giving me all kinds of fits. There we go. Now, our feathers are in. I'm going to make a couple securing wraps. Now we're going to add one more element to this. Since we added feathers, going to add Flashabou. This is a little different than Crystal Flash as it's wider, and we're only going to use one piece on each side, and we're only going to go down to the length of the hair, not the feather. So what I like to do is tie in one piece and then come around with that one piece and then use it for the other side. What this does is it makes it incredibly strong. The Flashabou would actually have to break before it'll pull out. Trim it up to make sure it's even on both sides. And just a little bit. There we go. We got our flash in. Now we're just going to finish it up. Cover up the flash. Whip finish. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Cinch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Cinch. Done. A little bit of head cement. And there it is. And what these feathers will do is they will add action. The hair will go back and the feathers will extend just beyond it. To show it to you here. It really looks like a larger tail, but it isn't that big. It really isn't. It'll give it a minnow type profile though, because the feathers will extend straight back just like the tail of a fish, and it'll give it that profile with the thicker body up here and the thinner tail with the feathers. With a little bit of flash, you'll catch some nice ones with this one. Give it a try. Let me know what you think. Thanks.